Ever wondered where high heels really come from? I bet you're thinking fashion, runways, or maybe even ancient queens. Well, you might want to sit down for this. The truth is, high heels were not invented for fashion. They were invented for war. For centuries, heels were worn exclusively by men. Not models, not socialites, but soldiers, kings, and emperors. Our story starts in Persia, now modern-day Iran. Back in the late 1500s, the Persian cavalry was legendary, and their success depended on their skill with a bow and arrow on horseback. But there was a problem. How do you stand up securely in your stirrups to shoot while your horse is moving? The answer was a heel. A raised heel locked the soldier's foot into the stirrup, giving them the stability and control they needed to be effective in battle. The powerful ruler of the time, Shah Abbas I, even made heeled boots standard military gear for his army. Fast forward to the early 1600s, Persian diplomats travel to Europe, and Europeans take notice of their unique footwear. These heels weren't just shoes, they were a symbol of strength, masculinity, and military might. Before long, European aristocrats started copying the style. Heels became all the rage in the royal courts of France, England, and Italy. No one loved this trend more than King Louis XIV of France. Being on the shorter side, he used high heels to look taller and more powerful. He even had his heels dyed red, a color that became a symbol of royal privilege. Only those in his inner circle were allowed to wear red heels. If you look at his official portraits, you'll see him rocking high-heeled shoes, stockings, and even armor. At the time, this was the absolute peak of masculine fashion. Around the late 1600s, women started adopting the style, too, borrowing from men's fashion to project status and power. But then, the 18th century and the Enlightenment arrived, and everything changed. Men's fashion became simpler and more practical. This period is known as the Great Male Renunciation. Heels, makeup, and flashy clothes were suddenly seen as irrational and were abandoned by men. However, women's fashion went in the opposite direction, becoming more decorative. High heels stuck around, gradually becoming associated exclusively with femininity. By the time of the French Revolution, heels were a symbol of aristocracy and excess, and men rejected them completely. So, what started as a practical piece of military equipment for male soldiers ended up as a fashion stereotype for women. History didn't change the shoe. Society changed who was allowed to wear it. If you found that as fascinating as